from the Steele Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, and from Casa del Fraytown in Taylor, Michigan, the Steele Twins Gaming presents this week's Outside Blitz with your hosts, the fabulous Scotty Fraytown and the Cannonball, Alex Steele.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outside Blitz. I am your host, the fabulous one, Scotty Fraytown, joined by the Cannonball, Alex Steele. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Hey, what's up, people?
Yeah, another week, another crazy off-season. The crazy off-season continues. Another week of this crazy off-season. We're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. A lot going on there. Lots of excitement surrounding the NFL draft. We are nearing the end of our prospects here, so we've been jumping into our favorite NFL prospects for the upcoming draft, and we're also, jumping in. We're going to be doing our shoot. I'm a little off. We're going to be doing our mock draft, for the off season here. So I'm very excited about that. 2 weeks though from the NFL draft, so I'm very fired up. We've got the beer in the fridge. We've got pork butts coming. We're going to be making pulled pork. We're going to be drinking. We're going to be eating good. Alex, the NFL draft, it's a great weekend.
Absolutely. It's one of our favorite weekends of the entire year. All of our analysis, builds up to this one moment. Plus, it's just a good time with good people. And don't forget, kids, throughout this podcast, we will be on #Jolie Watch. So, we got to get through our news and notes, but before we get to our prospects, we will give you an update on tight end prospect Justin Jolie out of NC State. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, sir. Jolie Watch continues. Justin Jolie, we loved him. We loved his family. We got to meet him at the Combine. We loved watching his Combine workouts. He was amazing at the Combine. You want to talk about draft stock just climbing very quickly. I'll tell you what, this guy's draft stock is skyrocketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a look at his, I'll take a look at his profile on Pro Football Focus. Obviously, things tend to update throughout the process, and it looks like he's going to be a day 3 guy. And and what's funny is, even though there are projections that are calling him like a day 3, like an early day 3 guy, round 4. To me, we're sitting here telling you that no, this guy's probably like midday 2 guy.
Yeah, you want to talk about draft stock climbing. This is. And okay, so listen, with the tight end position, we're in a passing league these days, and we all know that. It's a passing league, and this guy is a receiving type of tight end. Great hands. He tracks the ball well. I mean, he's incredible. We watch him going, wow, this guy is really an excellent tight end prospect. And coming out of this draft, not enough people, and look, I get we're all talking about the Kenyon Sadiqs of the world, and where everybody's talking about the Eli Stowers of the world and the Lake McCrees of the world. More people need to be talking about Justin Jolie. And I view him where I view him as about a midday 2 guy is where I would find him going. Probably, I mean, to me, he's like late 2nd, early 3rd round if it's me. Realistically, I could see him probably, and I'm talking at the lowest for me would be like, hey, let's talk about compensatory picks at the end of the 3rd round. I mean, that's like to me, and that's the lowest I would really think Justin Jolie should go. I mean, like anybody who's not considering this guy, they're not doing their job. That's really what it comes down to. Anybody who's not considering Justin Jolie as your big time tight end 1, it's problematic. And there are teams out there that have been looking at Justin Jolie. I mean, we can jump into Jolie Watch right now because we're talking about it, but teams that are looking at Justin Jolie, we've heard about the Kansas City Chiefs taking a look at him. We've heard about the Denver Broncos taking a look at him. We've heard about Miami taking a look at him. Justin Jolie getting looks from Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa's going to be taking a glance at this kid. Buffalo apparently very interested in Justin Joly. So I mean, like, and it's interesting that Buffalo is looking at him a little bit because of the fact that they just spent really high draft capital on Dalton Kincaid not too long ago, and they do have Dawson Knox over there. I mean, there's a lot of stock here in Justin Joly. I think the Broncos, if I was a betting man, I'd say the Broncos would probably the team that would snatch him up. I think he's probably going, AFC West seems like the most viable spot. You got two teams that do have needs at tight end. I realize that Travis Kelce got signed to a 3-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs, but at the end of the day, Travis Kelce's getting older. And Justin Joly is a very, very similar player to him. He reminds me a lot of, if there's two players that Justin Joly really reminds me a lot of, it's Travis Kelce and it's Tony Gonzalez. And
which is a monster comp, by the way.
Yeah, that's really high praise for a young kid just coming to college. And I realize that, and maybe some people, would call me crazy for saying that and giving those types of comps, but those are the type of guys that he reminds me of. Maybe that's a little too strong, but hey, that's my opinion. You're allowed to have yours too.
Yeah, we don't. You don't know. Yeah. I've always been a fan of. I'll believe it when I see it. I did see it at the combine for sure. I can't wait to see it in the NFL. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And looking forward to see where he lands.
Yeah, NC State did a great job with this kid. That staff over there did excellent in developing him and helping him along. He is, and he's 22 years old. It's not like he's one of these older prospects that's 24, 25 years old. You're going to get a lot of time with this kid, and you're going to get a lot of time to help him develop at an NFL level. Frankly, I don't think there's a whole lot of development to be done. He is a great pass catching tight end. Just everything I've seen, the tape I've watched on him, I really enjoy what he does out on the field. It's really exciting stuff. Also, the Patriots reportedly a little interested in him. So, I mean, excited about Justin Joly. We've been talking to his dad, Rob, for the last couple of weeks here. And really since the combine, we've been talking to his dad and it's been really fun talking to him and finding out what's been going on with Justin and finding out where he's been and what all the top 30 visits that he's been getting and stuff like that. It's really cool seeing somebody go through the process like that and having communication with a member of their family per se. I mean, it's just a really cool thing.
Yep. The fact that we have an open line of communication. I mean, I do, but I mean, we talk with him. Yeah. He follows us on social media. We really appreciate the support. Absolutely. And, he sends. So speaking of, where he came from, there's an article in the New York Post. With the headline, and I love this one, Joly good time. Wolfpack tight end set to complete trip from Brewster to the NFL. He's a Brewster, New York native. So, to have him be on the journey that he is on right now, just at this stage of the game, is absolutely phenomenal. So you're talking about him going to Buffalo. I mean, that's not too far from Brewster. At least it's in the same state. my geography is kind of catching up to me, but it would still be great. I mean, any team would benefit highly from getting him picked up. But I mean, he's all over the news and all over the place. Like what the Giants might do, what the Jets might do. Yeah. I mean,
the teams he's visited with. Teams he's visited with: Panthers, Bucks, Dolphins, Titans, Bills, Broncos, and Chiefs. I mean, and it's interesting. Here's the interesting thing for me.
And that's just to start with. Who knows what else we have in store? Anyway.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks. And you know what? Here's the thing. So think about the Panthers and their tight end situation. They need a tight end over there. Mm-hmm. Bucks, they have Cade Otton over there, who they just signed to a 3-year, $10 million deal, or I'm sorry, 3-year, $30 million deal. It's $10 million per year, but he's Otton's a good tight end. I think Justin Joly would be an amazing compliment to him, and having Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, we were talking about it offline, and we think that we certainly think that having that competitor in Baker Mayfield, he might have to have him have an additional target like that.
Yeah,
it would be great.
Yeah, and then you look at a situation like with the Dolphins right now. The Dolphins are an interesting one because like if there's any team that I hate to put it like this, because there's any team right now where I'm like, please don't go to Miami, please don't end up in Miami. I do not want to see Justin Joly wind up in Miami. It's on one end, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have a situation where you're like the safety valve for Malik Willis, who's gonna have no offensive line. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. There is no offensive line there for the Miami Dolphins. But at the end of the day, he'll get a lot of work over there. I mean, let's be real. He'll get a lot of work, but I don't know that it's a good spot for him to wind up in. I feel like you're going to, just the worst place you could be at this juncture.
Yeah.
Titans are an interesting one. They just picked up a tight end. And it was so, and then he would be complemented with that tight end. Oh goodness gracious, why is his name escaping me at the moment?
Well, but throw it in my Google machine.
Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm
yes.
is it just came to me. But
yeah, he was out of Texas from last year's draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so he would be with Gunnar Helm, which, obviously Chigo Okonkwo just went out the door this offseason. So he would wind up being with Gunnar Helm if he does wind up going to the Titans. Right now, Gunnar Helm is slated to be the tight end one. We don't know if that's going to remain. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But at the end of the day, Titans would be an interesting fit for him. If you think about the Buffalo Bills, like we just talked about, Dalton Kincaid still over there, Dawson Knox still over there. So we got an interesting fit there. Broncos need a tight end. They definitely need a tight end. They've been in need of a tight end for a while. Justin Joly, I mean, you want to talk a guy that would fit what Sean Payton likes over there. I think that's an excellent fit for him. And then the Chiefs, obviously, yeah, you got Kelsey, but Kelsey's getting older. He slowed down quite a bit last year. He's going to be going out the door, probably in the next. I don't even think Kelsey's going to finish out the 3-year deal, in my opinion. I think he's going to end up being a 2-year guy. But, at the end of the day, hey, he could be the guy that comes in and is that new tight end, that new weapon for Patrick Mahomes. Could be very helpful with the Chiefs. So Justin Joly has been one of our the last couple of years, it was, Facial Tootin watch, and we had, all these different guys that we were watching, and Kane Medrano watch, and now here we are, we're doing Justin Joly watch. So I'm excited about Justin Joly. I'm fired up about him. Rob, I hope you're out there watching. You said you were going to be watching the show. We told you we're going live, so hopefully you're out there. But thank you for keeping in touch with us and all that good stuff. Thank you for being a supporter of the show. We love it. We love the fact that you've been tuning in. We love the fact that you've been watching. We love the fact that we've had such an awesome open line of communication. This is the type of stuff we love about the NFL Combine, isn't it, Alex?
Yes, it is. I mean, it's those interactions with fans and family members of players that, we've come to kind of expect over the past 2 years where we started this Combine trip. We really didn't know what we were going to make of it, but man, I'm so happy that it is a yearly tradition now. And, one of these days, kids, one of these days, Alice, the Outside Blitz will have a live production show, whether it's, at a we'll probably we would do it after one of the rounds in a venue, like at a brewery or something, like Gugman House. Wouldn't it be awesome to just, because they have a really nice catering area, for lack of a better term, like a really hall, nice, a performance hall. So
yeah, it's phenomenal over there. By the way, in Indianapolis, if you folks do get the chance to go out to Indianapolis, Gugman House. Mm-hmm. Wow, what a place! What a place, man! I loved it over there. But Alex, we got some news to jump into around the league. We got some, not a lot going on. Obviously, it's the silence before the storm. The draft is right around the corner. But there are some things happening around the league that we have to jump into. And most notably, let's talk about Dexter Lawrence.
Sexy Dexy.
The biggest news of the last week. Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade from the Giants. John Harbaugh says he's quote unquote not surprised by the request because quote unquote there's business involved. But Dexter Lawrence, man, he wants out. I don't think he cares to be a part of the Giants anymore. I think he's kind of done. I think he wants to go to a winner. And here we go. Dexter Lawrence looking for a trade. Do you think that Dexter Lawrence winds up getting traded? And if so, landing spots for Dexter Lawrence?
So I would put the odds at minus 250, which means that would be very, very likely. But where he's going to go, now that's a fun dartboard game you can play at home. But if I was a betting man, the way that these trades have been shaking down over the past couple of years, you kind of notice that there's these interdivisional transactions take place. We saw it between Detroit and Minnesota. We've seen it between Dallas and I think was it Dallas and Washington?
Yeah.
So we're starting to see more and more of that. So there is a pretty good chance that we could see Dexter Lawrence going to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they do need some defensive help over there, or God forbid God forbid he goes to the Jets. If there's one team I don't want him to go to, like he'd basically be going back to the same stadium, but instead of wearing blue, he'd be wearing green. I mean, that would make zero sense. But if you're going to go to a winner, and a winner that is in need of a stout defensive tackle.
How about the Chicago Bears?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think the Bears are right there. I think they make the most sense. The only other team to me that I think the NFC North, most of the teams in the NFC North make a lot of sense. The Vikings need defensive tackle help. Whether or not they're going to roll with Jalen Redmond, we'll find out. You want to talk about Chicago, they do need a little bit of an interior pass rush. And I do think Dexter Lawrence would bring something to that defense that would kind of put them over the hump a little bit.
Detroit? Knock, knock. Detroit. I'm just saying, Brad.
Yeah, Detroit could be a landing spot. How about the Houston Texans? They've got all that stuff on the edges, but,
but nothing in between the tackles. Nobody at the interior.
Yeah, they had Sheldon Rankins, who had a pretty good season over there. But, Dexter Lawrence, I could roll with that. I could definitely roll with that. How about the Jags, too? I think the Jags make a lot of sense.
How about this one? Tennessee. T'Vondre Sweat just went out the door. You kind of need to fill that hole. So why not them?
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense. I wouldn't be mad at Tennessee. I mean, it makes a ton of sense for them. But man, if the Giants do deal him, they got to get a haul. You have to get, you're talking first round draft capital here. This guy is a defensive tackle, one of the best defensive tackles in football, and you're not going to walk away with a first round pick, right? You're walking away with a first round pick no matter what if you're dealing with Dexter Lawrence.
I mean, how about okay, well, you have the number 5 pick. Why don't you trade him to Arizona? See if Arizona would be willing to pick swap, or see if you can get Miami's 11th round pick.
You mean 11th overall? I mean, Miami might be willing to do it. The thing is, Miami is in such rebuild mode right now. It's like, goodness gracious.
Draft capital is going to be a very hot commodity for Miami. If anything, they would have traded all their players to get their draft capital put together. I mean, and haven't they done that already?
Yeah, basically. I mean, they sold the farm. I mean, if you're talking a team right now that is, nobody wants to say it, but they're in tank mode. I mean, that's what it is. They're looking at number 1 overall right now, right? I mean, that's
yeah. We've said it a couple. We've said it a couple weeks on this show, back to back, that we are most likely seeing the Miami Dolphins take the number one pick. But again, stranger things have happened in the NFL.
Yeah. Also with Giants, the Giants did sign former Ravens offensive guard Daniel Falele to a 1-year deal. Leaves Baltimore, follows John Harbaugh to New York. I mean, he had middle of the road grades throughout his entire career. This guy is a mammoth of a man. He's humongous. When he got drafted, I remember Tyler was very excited about him because he is just massive. But yeah, it's one of those things where yet another player from the Ravens follows his former head coach to the Giants. We've seen this all off season. Players just leaving. I mean, and it's not like the Giants don't need him. But at the end of the day, it's to me, it comes off as a depth move, really. But I mean, they do need offensive line help, but okay, it's like whatever. So Daniel Falele, I mean, do you think that beef up the middle is going to be helpful to them, especially with Cam Scatterbo?
I mean, they need all the help they can get, and don't forget. They do need to make the running room. Now, and the big question for Cam Scatterbo is, can he stay healthy? Because we saw how mangled his leg was during that horrific injury. So it's like, on the one hand, it's like, okay, we have a guy that basically is like a wrecking ball, that's chugged 6 energy drinks before his practice. He takes pre-workout as a snack, but at the same time, it's like, that aggressiveness can kind of lead to, injury concerns. But
having a sizable guy like Falele in front of you, having a 360+ pound guy blocking for you at offensive guard up the middle, I mean, it sort of makes sense, right? I mean, it's the sensible thing. So, I mean, and he goes and he follows a situation with John Harbaugh. Makes a lot of sense. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. I think it's about a right spot for him. And we'll see if he can kind of boost those grades. His Pro Football Focus grades, if you look at them, they were kind of middling throughout his career. I want to see if Falele can finally find his footing as a full-time, big-time starting guard in the NFL. Next up, let's talk about news that broke today. The Colts and Kenny Moore agree to seek a trade for Kenny Moore. I mean, he signed a 3-year, $30 million deal back in 2024 with the Colts. He's entering the final year of that deal. It's got a base salary of $9.49 million. There's no guaranteed money left. Trading him away before June 1st saves Indy about $7 million against the cap with $6 million in dead cap money. But Kenny Moore, he's a slot corner primarily. Getting a little older. I think he's 31, if I'm not mistaken. It's interesting that he's wanting to leave the Colts. I know the Colts are kind of going with this more of a youth movement type of deal, but it's kind of interesting that they're willing to move on from a guy who's actually one of the better slot corners out there. Are you surprised by this at all? Or, I mean, are we just going, the youth is what we want at this point? Is that, I mean, I know it's a deep corner class. There's certain guys that are really good in the slot, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree that we are seeing a bit of a youth movement going on here. And, when you talk about Kenny Moore, he's 30 years old, first of all.
Yeah.
He's had 9 seasons in the league. I mean, he's put up pretty decent numbers, all with Indianapolis. But at the same time, it's like, you know what? We do have a very stacked cornerback class to look forward to. So, you do want to build your team for the future. So that does seem to be the direction the Indianapolis Colts seem to be going in.
Yeah, it's kind of where they're headed. I'm just surprised that they're not going to retain the services of Kenny Moore, or at least hold on to him through that last year of his deal. I mean, I know you want to get something for the guy. We've seen that plenty of times in the past where they're, teams will be getting ready to get rid of a guy, or he's on the last year of his deal. It's like, well, rather than send him out the door to free agency and get nothing for him, let's go get something for him in trade. But at the end of the day, I really like Kenny Moore. I think he is beneficial to the Colts, especially as a veteran guy that's been in the league for 9 years, and also just as a slot corner, he's capable of still playing at an extremely high level. So, little surprise they're moving on, but
the question
the
then
don't
becomes,
surprise me.
Yeah, but the other question is, what could they possibly get for him? You could and who do they get it from? I would probably see maybe a third rounder, maybe a third and a fourth.
Well, the interesting thing about Kenny Moore is the age, and because we are in a situation where we're entering the age 30 season. We're talking about the back end. I don't think you're even getting a third for him. I mean, because of the fact that he's entering the back nine of his career, you're probably looking at about a fifth round pick that you're going to get for Kenny Moore. And that's not to say Kenny Moore isn't a really, really good player, because Kenny Moore is really good.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that they're willing to move on from him. I mean, back in 2024, he was ranked among the best in advanced coverage grades by Pro Football Focus. I mean, this guy, he was one of the better corners. It's a little surprising that they're willing to move on from him. I mean, especially considering the fact that given his age, and that's the only reason you're not going to get something for him is just the age. And it shouldn't be the only thing that disqualifies a player, I guess, from big draft capital. But at the end of the day,
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Right. So, I mean, are you going to get, you're probably not going to get a third, but I mean, we're talking about a fourth or a fifth round pick. I could see it. It's just a matter of, what teams are willing to offer, what teams are willing to pay at that juncture in time. So we'll see how that works out. Speaking of trades, let's talk about the Patriots. They go out and trade linebacker Marte Mapu and a 2027 seventh round pick to the Texans for a 2027 sixth round pick. Mapu was formerly selected in the third round back in 2023. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I'm mistaken here, he was on our top linebackers list going into that draft, if I'm not mistaken. Mapu, it's interesting that the Patriots are willing to just move on from him at this point. I'm a little surprised that they're not even giving him a shot. This guy, he had 119 snaps last year that he played, which, I mean, wasn't a ton. But in those 119 snaps, get this, 80.5 PFF grade, 72.1 pass rush grade, 79.7 coverage grade.
That's
why is this guy rotational?
He should be a starter.
Why is he rotational? It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's maybe I'm thinking like, I understand it's a small sample size. I understand last year he had 119 snaps, but goodness gracious, why is he rotational? In 2024, 63.4 overall grade, 81.2 pass rush grade, 62.7 coverage grade. So you clearly have something here.
Yeah, and you want to talk about statistics. I mean, in 2024, he had 46 total tackles, 23 solo tackles. He recorded half a sack and 3 forced fumbles. And every year he was with the Patriots, he got an interception for at least 6 yards, at most 20 yards. And he defended 6 passes in 2024. It's sublime. Like you're just letting you're trading him off to the Houston Texans for a pair of underwear. What?
Yeah, I don't understand it. It just seems kind of like the Patriots didn't exactly give him a real shot, other than the 2024 season where he was actually halfway decent. He had 480 total snaps and on defense there in 2024, but it seems like the Patriots
and he only played 10 games too.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like the Patriots just kind of like moved off of him for no reason, without giving him a real shot. They waste a third round pick. They get next to nothing back for him. You moved up in the 2027 draft into the 6th round. Like, okay. And going over to what they do in Houston with what DeMeco Ryans has going on defensively over there in Houston, it's like, man, there couldn't be a better situation for this kid to go into. Following that trade, goodness gracious.
I think Houston got away with one here.
Yeah, 26 years old.
Yep.
I mean, this is a great situation for him. 26 years old. He'll be 27 this year. In November, he'll be 27.
Yep.
So he's going to be able to develop and learn from DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans knows exactly what this kid's capable of. And like I said, 119 snaps is a small sample size, but to put up an 80.5 overall PFF grade on 119 snaps, maybe sets off an alarm a little bit.
And when you get 3 forced fumbles and half a sack in 10 games, in only 10 games, that's impressive.
Yeah, he's clearly got something going on. Also, for the Texans, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that they're hosting free agent corner and former Browns third-round pick Martin Emerson on a free agency visit. He didn't play in 2025 due to a torn Achilles. He did struggle in 2024, but he was considered a steal back in the 22 draft. He's just 25 years old. In his first 2 years in the season, 22 and 23, he was awesome. I'm very surprised that the Browns are moving off of Martin Emerson right now, or that they let him go to free agency. I am not surprised that the Texans are taking a look at him because they can probably get him relatively cheap as a free agent right now. And, coming off the injury and then having the rough year in 2024, you're probably going to get a steal here. The Texans are really seeming like they're figuring out. I'm not going to even say figuring out, like they figured out how to find extremely valuable players that are former 3rd and 4th round picks in the mid rounds that they're going to turn it. I can see DeMeco Ryans turning Martin Emerson into a starting corner. No doubt. I mean, he has starting experience in the NFL level. He's got starting experience with the Browns. He's played well at certain points with the Browns. This makes a lot of sense. I like this free agency visit. I think the Texans shouldn't even let him leave the building. No. This should be a situation where you sign this guy.
Yeah. Have somebody at the exit door with a contract in one hand and a pen in the other, because this man in 2023, get this, he recorded 4 interceptions, had 59 total tackles, 45 solos, but 4 interceptions for 25 yards. His statistics are consistent throughout the 3 years he spent with the Browns. Like you said, it was a bit of a down year in 24, but come on, for somebody this talented, and he's 26 this year. By the time the season starts, he'll be 26. So he's got some tread on the tires. Yeah,
there's this guy. I would be bringing him in. If I'm the Houston Texans and knowing what Martin Emerson is capable of. We were hyped about Martin Emerson when he got drafted. Just knowing what he's capable of, I'm like, man, I'd sign this dude in a heartbeat. I really would. I think frankly, I think he really fits what the Texans do on the defensive side of the ball too. I think he's an excellent fit. Makes a lot of sense for the Texans to do that. Texans also making the smart moves. In addition to the ones that they're already making, they're making some smart moves. They exercise the 5th-year options on both quarterback C.J. Stroud and defensive end Will Anderson. And in other news, rain is wet.
Yeah. If Houston didn't do this, I would wonder if DeMeco Ryans or the GM were sick. Because I've said this before and I say it again. That was probably the greatest 1-2 punch in NFL draft history. You get the 2nd overall pick and you get C.J. Stroud, and then you execute the monster trade to get the 3rd pick and get Will Anderson right afterwards. So you got your quarterback of the future, your edge rusher of the future, and it has paid dividends.
Yeah, Will Anderson, arguably the best edge rusher in all of football. You look at the numbers on him, and it is outrageous how good he is. It's just crazy. When you looking at the numbers on him.
Yeah, when you can mention him in the same breath as a Myles Garrett, it's absolutely terrifying. And the scariest thing is he's only 24 years old. He's going to be 25 by the time of the start of the season. He hadn't even started to reach his potential.
Yeah, it's crazy. We loved Will Anderson coming out. We loved. I mean, I was a big C.J. Stroud guy when he came out, and when he popped up, I said, all right, great, they got Will Anderson. All right, great, they got C.J. Stroud. I thought C.J. Stroud was the best quarterback out of that draft, and it turns out, as of right now, I'm still right. So I'm like, hey, but
what did I say?
A lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people said Bryce Young. I was a C.J. Stroud guy. Everything he did, just it made sense.
In Bryce Young's defense, the Carolina Panthers did him absolutely no favors in that first year because they didn't give him an offensive line to protect him. So in his defense. Yeah,
I agree with you there. We talked about the Browns a little bit. Let's talk about what the Browns did. The Browns, they make some under-the-radar moves, but ones that I thought were really, really good. First of all, they signed wide receiver Malachi Corley to a one-year, $1.075 million extension. Previously, if you recall, Malachi Corley was drafted by the Jets 65th overall. He was in the third round of the 2024 draft. And then the Jets released him this last year.
And in other news, water is wet because they don't know how to be a functioning organization.
Exactly, and the Browns go out and pick him up following his release. Corley, he came out in the third round. He's considered by and far, one of the most disappointing draft picks by the Jets in Jets history, or in recent memory, rather. I actually really like Malachi Corley, and I don't think he got a fair shake with the Jets. I think Corley, he was a really solid depth piece for the Browns last year. And then they do another great thing. And this guy I really loved. I loved him at the Senior Bowl. I thought he was awesome. The Browns go out and sign wide receiver Jamari Thrash to a one-year, $1.075 million extension. He was selected in the 5th round of the 2024 draft by the Browns. He was 156th overall. So they go and get him a contract as well. I love Jamari Thrash. He was one of my favorite players to watch at the Senior Bowl. He did extremely well at the Combine. Thrash, we sat here on the show talking about him. I brought him out, and Boots, he was like, bro, I love Jamari Thrash. We were hyped about him, and it's really cool that the Browns re-signed him to an extension. You want to talk a really, really solid depth piece at receiver right now. And then right now, look, I get his depth. Do I ever think he's going to be a starting wide receiver one? Well, I guess it depends on his development. But at the end of the day, I do really like the signing of Jamari Thrash, the extension. It was a brilliant move by the Browns. And then they go out and they sign Andre Smith to a one-year, $1 million extension. He became he was the kicker for them. They go out and Brandon Gunder, unbelievable. Brandon, welcome back to the show. But Schmidt, he gets signed to a one-year, $1 million extension. He became the starter after Dustin Hopkins got released by the Browns. So, I mean, I like the Andre Smith deal. He had a breakout season last year as a kicker. So super excited for him to be back with the Browns as well. I think all three of those signings he gets signed to a one-year. Alex, what say you?
Yeah, I think this is a great signing, by the Cleveland Browns. They are, as you said, these are under the radar moves. And, we're not going to see them blow up the world. They're still in the doldrums, although there is a little glimmer of hope because we saw what Shadur Sanders was capable of, down the stretch. He just couldn't finish off the games because, by the time he really started cooking, the Browns were already, half in the bag. They were already a coffin on roller skates. I mean, they went 5-12, and they're picking 6th overall in less than 2 weeks here. But they also got the 24th pick of the draft from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
yes, they did.
They're positioning themselves for success. Here's the question I've always asked, though, when it comes to the Cleveland Browns: are they smart enough? I think the coaching staff is smart enough. I don't know about the front office.
Yeah, there's some questions about the front office when it comes to them. And really right now, there's some questions as far as the coaching staff goes with the Browns, given the fact that they got rid of and Brandon, what's up, Alex? Drinking an ice cold Voodoo Ranger. Cheers, boys. Actually, Brandon, it's funny that you say that. Alex is currently drinking a Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah.
So
how about that? What flavor is it?
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, yeah, what you got over there? But in any case, I don't think the Browns front office is very smart. But I mean, in this particular, or their coaching staff is questionable right now. You got rid of Jim Schwartz. You let him go out the door.
Which
Todd
is a
Monken,
stupid
you picked him
move.
up. Yeah, I don't understand why you didn't just make Jim Schwartz the starting head coach or the head coach, and then say, okay, we're going to go ahead and get Todd Monken as our offensive coordinator. That would have kept everything together. That would have been the smart. Say, hey, Jim, we got this really great offensive coordinator that could help Shador develop, but no, we're just going to go pick up Todd Monken. Doesn't make much sense, but I digress. The one thing that wasn't broken on that team was the defense. So it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. Next up, let's talk about the 49ers making some moves. They made two, actually, we keep talking about these under the radar moves. These are two really under the radar moves, and I think are really smart. First of all, they go out and sign defensive end Cam Sample to a 1-year, $1.1 million deal. It's just $100,000 guaranteed. He missed the 2024 season due to an Achilles injury. He played for the Bengals in 25 on a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. He had a 54.1 PFF grade last season. But I think there's a significant difference between what you're going to be doing, with the Niners versus what you're going to be doing with the Cleveland Browns or the Cincinnati Bengals, rather. What you're going to be doing with the Bengals, because with the Bengals, there's not much defense there, and their defensive scheme really wasn't very good. Cam Sample, going to the Niners really makes a lot of sense. And if you look at what the Niners do over there and how good they are at, accentuating the strengths of their players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think this is a really good spot for him going to the San Francisco 49ers. And then we talk about that. Let's talk about the Niners also signing former Patriots corner Jack Jones to a 1-year deal. Jack Jones, if you recall, a couple of years ago, was one of the best corners in football. He played with the Dolphins last year on a 1-year, $1.1 million deal. He's a former 4th-round draft pick by the Patriots in 22. He went 121 overall. Previously, and he kind of stunk the last 2 years because he was with the Raiders and the Dolphins. So I kind of look at it and go, think about the teams he was with, because their staff stinks. And Brandon, I like Cam Sample too, and I think that's a really good depth piece for the Niners, especially given all the injuries that they've had at the defensive end spot. But Jack Jones, if you do recall, he got arrested at Logan Airport back in 2023. TSA discovered 2 guns and a carry-on luggage, and then the Patriots released him right after that, right?
Yeah, and there's one thing to say about that.
You big dummy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then he played well in 22 and 23, though, is the reality. If he gets the starting spot, again, we talk about the 49ers and what they do on the defensive side of the ball and what they're capable of doing on the defensive side of the ball. And it's like, all right, this makes a lot of sense, and it really helps the situation for them where they don't really have much in the secondary right now. This is a huge help. I think Jack Jones could actually have a career resurgence over there with the San Francisco 49ers. Alex, how about you?
I agree with that. You have a 10-year veteran in Eli Apple. You got Nate Hobbs out there. You got an upstart rookie in Upton Stout. He's on the cornerback list. So, and you have one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. As the guy calling the shots. So we could see a career resurgence from Jack Jones. Surround yourself with a quality organization and surround yourself with a quality roster, and you have a shot. Because again, He spent 2 years in Las Vegas. That basically tells you everything you need to know. That's probably why he got caught in an airport with 2 guns. But who am I to say?
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day,
judge?
At the end of the day, the San Francisco 49ers, making these moves, for Jack Jones. I'm gonna be watching for him out there. It could be just an under the radar pop up on the stat sheet like once or twice, but be there for like one pivotal play that ends up, sealing an early season game.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Jack Jones. I look at both these signings, the Sample and Jones one. Yeah, they're kind of considered depth moves, given the money that's being put out there. I mean, we're talking 1.1 million, right? But when I look at a guy like Jack Jones, who's been a starter in this league and been a quality starter at the NFL level. We saw Cam Sample. He was a good starter with the Cincinnati Bengals for a period of time. I look at this. These are good moves as far as the finances go. Financially, it's brilliant. You're getting guys for on the cheap, guys that have a starting experience. Jack Jones was one of the best starting corners in football at one point. Look, I really like these moves, and I don't think Jack Jones is going to be one of those guys that pops up on the stat sheet. My opinion, I think Jack Jones could be a starter for the Niners. I think they're going to have him starting at corner, and I think he's better than just about anything they have over there at the corner position. This guy could very well, this could be a Byron Murphy type of situation where he winds up having a career resurgence as a starting corner in the NFL, and the Niners get him, and they get to do it on the cheap, and it's a very low risk, high reward situation. Brandon says, Kyle says, what's up? Hey, Kyle, how you doing? But, this is a low risk, high reward situation for the Niners. I really like these signings. I think they're very smart. This is very typical of John Lynch to go out there and just make a brilliant move like this. Next up, let's talk about the Falcons. First of all, let's talk about the stuff John Lynch. It's big news, but it's really not, because it's another that needed to happen. The Falcons, they do pick up the 5th-year option on running back Bijan Robinson. In other news, boobs are fun.
Right.
So
no kidding.
So, yeah. So Bijan Robinson gets his 5th-year option picked up. But there's some other stuff going on. First of all, Falcons edge rusher James Pierce, he is not at the Falcons voluntary workouts after his arrest from February. He's been charged with 3 felonies and a misdemeanor after that insane domestic violence situation. Yeah, the big domestic violence situation, and then he runs from the police, and then it was just a big disaster. But 3 felonies, and a misdemeanor for him. I don't think he's going to wind up playing this year. I think the NFL is just going to levy a massive suspension and call it a day. It just, I don't see it going any other way at this point. I mean, you get all that going on, yeah, you're about done.
Yeah, that would have to be a league call. I mean, I don't think the Falcons are smart enough to realize that, okay, this guy's a liability. We don't need that kind of negative juju in our locker room. But but it's the NFL's prerogative to hand out the punishment in that situation anyway.
Yeah, this is Roger Goodell territory, and Goodell doesn't play when it comes to stuff like this. He's going to levy a suspension somewhere. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You do all that. Yeah, sorry, bro. You're not playing this year. I don't see him coming into the league at all this season. The Falcons also had some other stuff go on. They have offensive tackle Caleb McGarry. He retires after 7 seasons. He didn't play in 2025 after suffering a severe lower leg injury in training camp. And he had just in the offseason signed an extension through 2027. He's been one of the best run blocking right tackles in all of football. And then he retires, which makes me very sad because I liked Caleb McGarry a lot. That Falcons offensive line has been good. It's been one of the best in football for several years now. A lot of people didn't even realize it, that the Falcons offensive line was as good as it was for a while. So they lose Caleb McGarry, and then in turn, they go out and sign former Chiefs offensive tackle Jawan Taylor to a 1-year, $5 million deal with $1 million in incentives. And then they just go, because they had that signing, they just added about 110 yards worth of penalties to their season.
Right.
because of all of the false starts and holding penalties that are going to happen.
And I think
with Jawan Taylor.
It's between him and that fella from that big fella from the Seattle Seahawks for the competition for worst offensive lineman in the league, which
it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad, but
it is. Oh.
We can't get away with this without telling Anthony Bradford. Yeah,
Anthony Bradford. Yeah.
Between him and
he's
Anthony,
bad.
I think Jawan Taylor, though, to your point, is worse because of the penalties. Anthony Bradford just lets guys get away, and he's just lazy as hell when it comes to blocks. We have sat at your house and watched multiple games with this man, and I've noticed it from my own couch. During the playoffs and during the Super Bowl. Oh my God, he just let that guy walk right by him. So
Yep.
But Jawan Taylor, I mean, good luck with that. I mean, have fun with that. That bag of that overstuffed sack of potatoes.
Yeah, he struggled with the Chiefs last year. He was released at the start of the offseason. Major issues with penalties, and he gets signed with the Falcons to that 1-year, $5 million deal. If you recall, I think it was a $20 million per year deal with the Chiefs that he wound up getting signed to not too long ago. So there's that.
Stealing money.
Yeah, that's basically what he was doing. I mean, it was just nuts. Elsewhere around that division, the Buccaneers making some moves. They go out and sign former Vikings offensive tackle Justin School to a 1-year deal. He was released by the Vikings after an abysmal 2025 season where he played several games at left tackle in place of the injured Christian Darrisaw. I was not a big fan of School. I saw him just get demolished on several occasions. I'm amazed that Pro Football Focus has his blocking grades ranked as high as they do, because he was absolutely horrendous last season. It was just a miserable experience watching him on the field. Every time they said School was going to start, I was like, oh, well, our quarterback is about to get killed, and our quarterback almost always did. It was a tough go. He goes to Tampa Bay, where his career started. He was actually halfway decent when he was in Tampa Bay in the first time around. But I just don't know how it's going to end up for him. But as a Vikings fan, I'll just simply say, thank God he's gone. How about that? That's just the way I feel about that.
And watch Tampa Bay give him a career resurgence.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. And that's like the type of that would be like the most Vikings thing ever. Also, speaking of Tampa Bay, they let a guy go not too long ago, and he just signed with the Eagles. The Eagles signed former 2021 Bucs first-round pick Joe Tryon-Shoyinka to a 1-year deal. He was previously selected 32nd overall in 2021 by the Bucs. They declined his 5th-year option, which was interesting because it made him a free agent after 2024, but he actually had really good numbers with the Bucs. I was kind of blown away that they didn't pick up the 5th-year option. He played a split season last year with the Browns and the Bears, posted a 72.2 defensive grade in 2025 on just 142 snaps, but he's always had solid pass rush grades. He was actually a really solid defensive end. I'm kind of surprised that the Bucs let him walk after the 2024 season, and I'm also even more surprised that teams didn't pick him up last year and keep him throughout the entire season or have him starting. He's a former first-round pick. Like, what are we doing here? And I know that's kind of like the dreaded phrase, right, Alex? Former first-round pick, but it would be one thing if his numbers sucked, but his numbers are good. Yep. It's like, yeah. Why is this guy not getting any play? I mean, make it make sense.
I mean, yeah, and he had 15 sacks in his first 4 years with the Bucs. He had 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery. He had 106. He's had 160 tackles throughout his entire career. Most of those in his first 4 years. And you're right. You hear the phrase former first round pick, and you immediately, you throw up in your mouth a little bit. But it's to your point though. It's like if his numbers were bad, we would agree. And I think the question also is, okay, former first round pick, but from which year? How long ago was this? Because if he is, let's just say it's from like 23, former first round draft pick from 2023. That's like, well, that's got bust written all over it. But if you go further back, it's like, okay, well, he was a first round pick because when he was good, during the first couple of years, he was good, just like this situation. So, yeah, I mean, and again, what do we keep saying about the Eagles every single time we bring them up? The rich get richer. Now, I mean, how much richer, we're not sure. But at the same time, it's like when you hear about stuff like this and look at the statistics and look at the numbers, you go, hey, I think the Eagles got away with another one. They get away.
They got away with another one too. The Packers have traded wide receiver Dontavion Wicks to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 2026 fifth round pick and 2026 fifth round and 2027 sixth round. There you go. Wicks will then sign a 1-year, $12.5 million extension with the Eagles. Dontavion Wicks, kind of a wide receiver 3 that got paraded around as a wide receiver 2 with the Packers for a little while there. He had some really explosive games at certain times where it's like, man, Dontavion Wicks is having a game today. The Packers let him walk. Do I ever think he's going to be a wide receiver 1? Probably not. But if you look at what Dontavion Wicks has been able to accomplish in the NFL, he's been pretty darn impressive at certain times, particularly as a wide receiver 3. Look, I actually like this a lot. And if you think about it, they got A.J. Brown over there still, who might be traded. We don't know yet. That's kind of being looked at. You got Devontae Smith over there, who obviously is like a 1B over there.
Yep.
This is sort of this is a really good situation, I think, for Dontavion Wicks to come into. There's a good system for him to learn in. And if he's going to wind up being a wide receiver 3 in this system, I think that's a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, the question is what's going to happen with Jahan Dotson. I mean, I thought he got traded last year to the Commanders, but I could be mistaken.
I would have to look. I forget where Jahan Dotson actually went.
Yeah, we got to go put him on the milk carton again. But talking about
he's with the Falcons.
Okay,
he's with the Falcons now.
All right, we found him. I mean, again, happy trails to him. But going back to Dontavion Wicks,
hang on a minute. Jahan Dotson signed a 2-year, $15 million deal with $10 million guaranteed. What is this world coming to?
Wow.
Jahan Dotson hasn't done shit.
Wow. Well, congratulations on getting the bag, young man. But at the same time,
keep cashing. Yeah, cash them checks, I guess. Goodness gracious. I mean, okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you got
Dotson.
If you got the money to spend it, I guess.
I guess.
Going back to Dontavion Wicks, in 3 years with the Packers, out of 46 games played, he only had 108 catches out of 180 targets, but that's pretty good, for 1,300 yards. I mean, he had 581 yards his first year, so he never really broke 600. But he's got 11 touchdowns. Had 3 fumbles in his first year and lost one of them. But, like you said, it is a wide receiver 3 performance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wide receiver 3 numbers. That's exactly what they are. So I'm not mad at this deal. No. 12 and a half seems a little expensive for him, but it's a 1-year deal. So that's all it is. It's a 1-year, extension to stay with the Eagles. I think this is a fair deal by the Eagles, and they always seem to have the cap space. So, I mean, here we are. The Eagles wind up getting a pretty damn good wide receiver 3 here, I think. And we'll see if he can develop further. Team that also made a really good move that was, again, under the radar. The Lions go out and re-sign corner Avonte Maddox to a 1-year extension, the former Eagle. He played with the Lions last year after playing with the Eagles for 3 seasons. Last year, he only played 342 snaps, so he was a little rotational, but he posted a 79.1 PFF grade and with a 75 coverage grade. That 75 coverage grade was ranked 12th in the league.
That is
Devontae
not
Maddox,
bad.
a really good player.
Yeah.
No, good player. Good player. I mean, he was the best corner on the team last year, honestly. It's a little, it makes me wonder why he wasn't corner number 2 before Terrion Arnold, because I think Maddox is better. And it's just an interesting little situation there. But yeah, here we go. And the Lions get him on for the cheap. I mean, they get him on the cheap here on like a $1.1 million deal or 1.4. That's nothing. That's pennies on the dollar for a top tier corner.
Yep, chicken scratch. And, we were really impressed with Kelvin Shepard and his performance as defensive coordinator last year, basically, taking an island of misfit toys defensive room and making the best of it. Obviously the biggest problems were with the offense last year, just by watching the product on the field, but in Jared Goff's defense, the offensive line was severely gutted. Two of their top stars, have retired. They couldn't get Frank Ragnow back because he failed his physical. Then Taylor Decker, retires, thinks he's going to come back, and then it doesn't pan out for him. So, but with Devontae Maddox back on the squad, you're right. His last year was a great year for him. He had 32 tackles. He got a forced fumble, and he even had an interception last year. So, turnovers are a premium commodity in the National Football League, and so this is a great move by Brad Holmes and company.
Yeah, and it's very cost effective too. I mean, you keep it, you get a good player, you keep him in. Yeah, he's rotational, judging by what you saw last year. But at the end of the day, you get this guy for $1.4 million. That's nothing. You're paying that guy nothing to be a really good player for your football team. So I actually really like this signing. The Raiders also go out and make a move. They go out and sign defensive end Charles Snowden to a 1-year, $1.075 million extension. He played 324 snaps for them last year to the tune of a 70.5 PFF grade. I like this guy too. I thought this was an impressive signing by the Raiders. Yes, he was more of a rotational guy. Yes, only 324 snaps, but to get him out for a 1-year, $1.075 million, again, cost effective player. This is smart. I really like this signing by the Raiders.
Yep, me too. He had he recorded 4.5 sacks, including 3 last year, and got an interception last year. So, and the Raiders need all the help they can get,
Yeah.
So it's
he had 11 pressures last year. 11 pressures in a rotational role is actually pretty darn good. 18 tackles. He actually had himself a really nice 68.3 pass rush grade, a 62.3 run defense grade. He was not bad for a rotational guy. This is a good signing for basically $1 million for one. I mean, sold makes a lot of sense to keep him around. Another guy that got signed, and this will be our last of the signings, will be Cardinals. They go out and sign former Rams kicker Josh Carty to a 1-year deal. He was cut by the Rams after struggling last season. If you remember, it was later in the season that he got cut too. But man, Josh Carty getting another shot at this thing. The Cardinals have had kicker woes. So do you feel comfortable with Josh Carty coming in as the kicker for the Arizona Cardinals? Or do you think it was a special teams coordinator problem? If you remember, the offensive coordinator for the Rams is now the head coach for the Cardinals, which is LaFleur's brother. And on top of it, he knows Carty. I mean, does he see something that the Rams didn't see? I don't know.
And you must keep in mind too, not only did they cut Cardi, the Rams, they also fired their special teams coordinator, right after their playoff loss. They threw him right out the door. So we could be looking at a special teams problem. And, it's a struggling kicker from a division opponent. But at the same time, if you can kick a football in the National Football League, especially if you're putting it through the uprights, chances are you'll find steady employment. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, at first I was like, but then I'm like, because again, it's not 100% Cardi's fault. Let's find out. It could be a special teams issue.
Yeah, Harrison Mevis was the guy that took his place, and Mevis did pretty good this last year.
Yeah, that big boy. He was a gigantic man for a kicker.
Yeah, thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. But he came out there and he was kicking the ball for the Rams for a minute, and then he wound up missing a kick in the playoff game, and they fired their defensive their special teams coordinator. It was the second special teams coordinator that they fired last season. So
definitely a special teams issue.
It's problematic. So the Rams kicker Josh Cardi goes over there, and then last but not least, we'll talk about the Jags a little bit. The Jags have said that they now expect Travis Hunter to be a full-time corner and a part-time receiver. He's going to be going more of the Deion Sanders route, it seems like. There's not going to be any more of a 50-50 split. He's going to be going full-time corner and part-time receiver when they need him. So, I mean, I think that's the smart play, if I'm being honest with you. I think he's good as a corner. I mean, he did well as a receiver last year, but I think there's less chance of injury in this situation. You're not going to be getting tackled a whole lot as a corner. And I think they were more concerned about the durability when it comes to Travis Hunter, because if you recall, he had one big game last year as a wide receiver and then wound up getting hurt. So, I mean, if it's me, make him a corner and we'll go from there. Do you think this is a smart play on the part of the Jags?
Yes, absolutely. You're protecting your investment, in a top tier draft pick. And, he went second overall in 25 last year. Yep. And, because in Colorado, he was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he was more hyped than Shadur Sanders was. And,
yes, he was.
Yeah. So, and the hype was, okay, I think we've yet to see all of the hype. But then again, it's year 2, and he got hurt in the first year. If you get injured in the National Football League, chances are, depending on the injury, especially if it's like an ACL or something that ends your season, it's problematic. But I have hope. I have high hopes for Travis Hunter's returns, and I hope that as primarily a corner, they can boost Jacksonville's defense, because I think he was more effective as a corner in college too.
A lot of people felt that way, and I don't. I can 100% see it that he was more effective as a corner at Colorado. To me, I would have loved to see him more in the receiver role. We saw how explosive he was in the one game where he played as a receiver and really just took off. I think he had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns or some crazy amount, and then he got hurt. But I want to see what he does as a full-time corner. I want to find out. But Alex, speaking of corners, we have our corners for the upcoming NFL draft, that our top corners. Obviously Boots isn't here. Boots is he's been a little under the weather lately. We hope you feel better, Boots. We're holding out hope that we're going to see you next show. We want to see the bootleg better bring his bootleg B team to all of our listeners. And he's got some catching up to do. He's going to be talking next time when he gets in. He's going to be talking about his top defensive tackle, his top defensive ends. He's going to be talking about linebackers. He's going to be talking about corners. And then we're going to wind up talking about safeties next week. Is going to be our final position group. And then for those of you who are wondering, when we do come back, we'll be going live during the NFL draft, which is exciting. But we're also going to be right back here on April the 21st, because we're going to be going through our NFL mock draft. Tuesday, April 21st, we will be doing a 3-round mock draft right here on the show. Alex, Boots, myself, we're going to be jumping through all of these picks. That's all we're going to be focused on Tuesday, the 21st. We're not going to be talking about any news or anything like that. We're going to be jumping into Mock Draft Central. Also, if you guys are enjoying what we're doing here, and if you love the fact that we're jumping into so much draft stuff, a lot of folks go on the Facebook page to check it out. So I'm going to tell you, go check it out on our Outside Blitz Facebook page. I always post my 3-round big board. It's my 3-round mock draft that I throw out every single year. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I hope people check it out. It's a good read. I always do write-ups for the first round, and then after that, I just do the player picks. But I do a 3-round mock every single year. So it's going to be Mock Draft Central for the next couple of weeks. I hope everybody is fired up about that. But with that, Alex, let's jump into our top corners. I've got my top 5 corners that I've put up here, and I'm going to talk about my number 5 one first, and that is the man out of Indiana, the national champion Indiana Hoosiers. Let's talk about D'Angelo Pons.
Yes, sir.
I like D'Angelo Pons a lot. He's got excellent straight line speed. He keeps up with the speed of your receivers on the go routes, no problem. He is smaller, but he's still really aggressive. And he shows off some unexpected big-time play strength. He's got this nasty, competitive nature that I just love. He's got special teams capability added to his arsenal. He had 2 block punts at college. Good anticipation and play recognition. He doesn't bite on play action. He doesn't bite on pump fakes. He doesn't get thrown off by quarterback looks. He's smart about that. He's got good hands and coverage skills in both zone and man, but he seems better as an outside zone corner to me. Cons on him, I already talked about it a little bit. 5'8", 182 pounds. Makes him a little undersized for the position. He only played as an outside corner at the college level, which is interesting given his size. It could be a little problematic because at his size in the NFL, he could be more playing toward the slot. That's where they could push him. He needs better tackling technique. He doesn't wrap his man up as well as you would like, but he kind of more or less goes toward those ankle. It seems like he's diving at legs and ankles and whatnot. But I like D'Angelo Pons as a pure coverage corner. He's one of the absolute best in this draft. I really enjoyed watching him play with Indiana this last season. He was just very exciting. Alex, Big Ten guy, D'Angelo Pons. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I feel great. We watched him at the combine. We were very impressed with his drills. We Indiana players have gotten a lot of clout here on our show. For every single one of our top prospects, the Hoosiers have been mentioned. And he did have 2 missed tackles last year. But he did have 54 totals and 11 assists. His tackling grade is an 85.3. So so it's really good. And most of his snaps last year were in coverage. And in coverage, he was targeted 64 times. He only gave up 32 passes for 379 yards. Of course, he got torched the most at the conference championship game against Ohio State, which is not surprising because, Ohio State has Jeremiah Smith. That man is going to, when that man gets ready to be drafted, we will have a front row seat at the combine. We will have eyes, ears, and noses to the grindstone about that man. But anyway,
if he even performs at the combine, we don't even know if he might know, hey, I'm going top 5, and he might not even come to the combine.
Which makes, we wouldn't be surprised. He did have 2 so going back to D'Angelo Pons, he did have 2 interceptions and 9 batted passes last year. So 9 pass breakups. So again, this is an asset at the defensive level if you really need it. And of course, he's going to be probably a second round guy, looking anywhere in the mid to late 40s. And most likely he'll be drafted by either the Pittsburgh Steelers at 13%, the Cincinnati Bengals at 12%, and the Philadelphia Eagles at 7%.
Yeah, I liked Pons a lot. I think all three of those places could be definite destinations for him. He's going to be a day two guy, and he's going to wind up having himself a really good draft coming up here. Next up, let's talk about a guy. I met his mom at the combine, Avion Terrell out of Clemson. I liked this guy a lot. He had a great combine. Mama was just the sweetest lady. Brother of AJ Terrell, if you recall. This guy's a turnover machine, man. He's got a nose for the football. He creates fumbles when the ball and he picks off the passes when they're in the air. But man, he goes after it. He's got that peanut punch. He creates fumbles. He's got the versatility to play in any scheme, zone or man, outside and in the slot. And he does his best work as an outside press man corner, in my opinion. I really liked watching him there. He's got a mean, nasty, competitive demeanor, and it shows with how he plays with the ball in the air against opposing receivers. He's like, to use I wrote down a quote from Jim Ross, and it was Jim Ross talking about Shawn Michaels, but I think it fits here. He's like a pit bulldog. He doesn't know how big he is, and he doesn't really give a damn. He's just going to go out there and play, and that's what he's going to do. Avion Terrell is exactly that, and I thought that quote fit. He's fast and smooth. He's got excellent footwork. I really like Avion Terrell. Cons on him, undersized. He's just 180 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. But they said the same thing about his brother, and you see what his brother's doing. He's one of the best in football right now. He needs to work on his tackling technique, wrap your man up, particularly in run defense. He gets a little too handsy in coverage at times. It's going to cause the laundry to come out there. But at the end of the day, Avion Terrell, he's one of the best corners in this draft. Super excited about him. He's going to have himself a really great career in the NFL, I believe, just like his brother. Just a family filled with greatness at the corner position. Alex, where are you at?
I'm 100% agree. He's trending, in the first round.
Yes.
I'm looking at his trend graph here. I mean, it's down to about, the 30, the late in the first round. But the funny thing is about that means teams like the Rams, the Broncos, well, really the Kansas City Chiefs and Miami Dolphins, or even New England and Seattle, if they're picking that late in the first round and he falls down there, then this is a steal. This is a steal waiting to happen.
And think about what like a team like the Chiefs needs right now. The Chiefs right now, think about what they need right now. They need corners.
Yeah.
You
just had one of the best corners in football, bounce out the door in Trent McDuffie.
Yes.
Him being missing is and you know who else needs him? Minnesota. I mean,
how about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a year goes by where you do not say that Minnesota needs corners. And ironically enough, at 40%, he's most likely going to go to Minnesota. So fingers crossed on that. 14% for the Dallas Cowboys and 14% for the New York Football Jets. Please, God, no. But, and just really quickly, he had 5 forced fumbles. So if you can create turnovers, you really have an affinity for the position. He was targeted 51 times last year. Only had 29 passes on him for 340 yards. So not terrible. He did give up 3 touchdowns, but he had 5 pass breakups. Those three touchdowns came against Louisville, Duke, and LSU. I mean, LSU, I can't be surprised. I mean, and granted, Clemson over the last couple of years have kind of been on the downward trend. But they were back-to-back national champions one time, and Trevor Lawrence was undefeated. Those days are long gone. But Avion Terrell, I mean, this guy will be an asset no matter where he goes.
Absolutely. Number 3, let's talk about Colton Hood out of Tennessee. You want to talk a really good player, capable of playing outside or in the slot effectively. He plays solid zone and man coverage. He's got violent hands, however, as a press man corner. He disrupts routes early. He sticks to receivers like glue. He reads routes and cuts with excellent anticipation. He's a contested catch monster. He's going to give the most physical receivers fits while they're out there. Cons on him, a little iffy in the run support with, just straight up bad tackling at times. I mean, he just got the unwillingness to wrap his man up. He gets way too handsy downfield, and he will draw pass interference penalties if he doesn't get it under control. Ball tracking skills on deep routes, he needs a little work. He's real good at getting the underneath stuff, and he's really good at jumping these little out routes. But at the end of the day, the ball tracking skills on the deep routes do need work. He only had one season as a full-time starter, but Colton Hood, he's been getting a lot of hype coming into this draft here. A lot of people have been fired up about Colton Hood. I don't blame them. I like the tape on him. I thought he was he's my number 3 corner, obviously. I mean, him and Jermod McCoy, who, spoiler alert, is my number 2. Those two guys have been sort of just neck and neck, and it's no wonder that Tennessee's defense was as good as it was with these two guys on the field. But Colton Hood, Alex, what say you?
Yep, 100%. Tackling was a bit of a problem, like you mentioned, although he did post an 83.4 tackling grade last year. Yep. Yeah, but some of those games he did really struggle with it. I mean, he had 50 total tackles last year, but he had 4 misses. That's pretty high. I mean, for the opportunities you're given, the 4 missed tackles, okay, big deal. But hang on, 1 missed tackle is 1 missed tackle too many. And now he did have 20 defensive stops, 50 tackles, and 7 assists. And he was targeted 52 times and gave up 28 passes for 318 yards. 96 of those yards were yards after the catch. He did give up a touchdown, but he did get 1 interception and 5 pass breakups. So, absolutely he's an asset at the defensive side. He posted an 80.3 coverage grade, only a 66.9 pass rush grade. He's trending anywhere from the 30th or the 32nd pick to the 37th pick in the second round. And most likely he will be drafted by the Seattle Seahawks, which would be a bonus. The Los Angeles Rams at 19%, 24% for Seattle, and 11% for the Minnesota Vikings. So again,
there you go.
Hey, we would say hey Quasi, but hey Quasi, he's not here anymore. At this stage, it's Rob Brzezinski who is the interim GM right now. So we haven't even named a general manager. Yeah, it's his job to just keep the caps, to fix the cap nightmare you guys have plunged yourselves into.
Exactly. Next up, let's talk about number 2, Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee. Man, this is a true press man corner. He can jam receivers at the line. He can push them off their spot. He is unafraid to be physical at all, and not at the line and not at the catch point. He battles with opposing receivers. I love it. Plays well in zone coverage schemes. He entices quarterbacks to make questionable throws by making them think they have more space than they have, which is something that I found was extremely interesting watching the tape. He backs up and he's so quick to react when the quarterback releases the ball that it's like, oh, buddy, this you thought you had 10 yards. You don't have anything. And he'll take it away. He's got good ball tracking skills, good hands. I love it. The downside to him, right, he suffered a torn ACL in 2025. A little questionable in run support with the identifying and tackling. He is going to draw penalties by, again, getting a little too handsy downfield, particularly with the faster receivers. When he gets beat, he has a tendency to get a little handsy. But that's coachable, right? I mean, these are coachable things. I like Jermod McCoy a lot. He's probably, outside of my number 1 guy, he's probably my favorite guy that I think I would love for the Vikings to take. It's either between him, Avion Terrell, or my number 1 guy who we'll talk about momentarily. But man, Jermod McCoy, I think he's an excellent player. He's going in the mid-teens, I think. Just a really awesome corner.
Yep, anywhere from 12, 16, and 19. So yeah, right there in the middle of the first round. So you're talking about the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, the Carolina Panthers, Minnesota's right there. So is Detroit. So yeah, I mean any one of those teams would benefit greatly from grabbing this player. So I'm taking a look at his 24 stats because of the ACL tear. Real quick with the stats here. In 299 run defense snaps, he had 37 tackles, 16 assists, and 4 missed tackles, but 11 defensive stops. So good on him there. And in 393 coverage snaps, he was targeted 62 times, and he only gave up 31, 50% on the dot, for 386 yards. And 128 of them were yards after the catch. So again, that's a problem. Gave up 2 touchdowns, but had 4 interceptions and 6 pass breakups. So yeah, you want a turnover machine. You'd look at those numbers and go, hey, again, I think the injury is a concern, but it might be a blessing in disguise because again, he sat out the entire season of 2025, yet his draft stock remained largely unchanged. So yeah, I think that's an interesting fact to pick up on. So likely landing spots, we're looking at 27% for the Miami Dolphins, 24% for the Los Angeles Rams, and 15%, as I said before, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, he just makes a lot of sense for all those squads. I really like Jermod McCoy. But my number one guy, this guy, the best way I could describe him is he gives me Trent McDuffie vibes, and it's Mansour Delane out of LSU. Wow, what a corner, man. This guy, he can play man, he can play zone, he has good anticipation, he's got the vision to identify and react to different routes and make plays on the ball. He's a capable run defender. He's got strong tackling abilities. He's got excellent straight line speed that keeps him in plays and allows him to recover when on vertical routes where he just seems to be beat. He just pops right back up there. He's capable. He's a true shutdown corner. This guy is capable of shutting down one whole side of the field entirely. He only gave up 2 passes of 20+ yards. He didn't give up a single touchdown last year. And he's in just a 27% completion percentage over 200 coverage snaps last year. So you want to talk about a true shutdown corner that's going to be really great in this league. This is him. Cons on him, arms are a little shorter than preferred. He does lack a little functional size. He's only 190 pounds. He could find himself struggling a little bit with the bigger wide receivers. There's a few questions about durability due to that lack of size. He does have a tendency, and this is his one downer. He gets fooled a little bit. The quarterback has a tendency to kind of draw him off with his eyes. He's like looking at the quarterback's eyes. It was funny. You saw it on tape. There are a few occasions where quarterback looks this way and he's going that way, or it's one of those just oddball things. He's going to have to worry about identifying that and not getting fooled by those quarterback looks. But Delane, man, he's my favorite corner out of this draft. I like him a lot. He just shuts down entire sides of the field. Like I said, he just reads like Trent McDuffie all day. Just a really solid, straight up coverage corner. He's just, everything he does is clean and crisp. It's excellent. Not enough people talking about Mansour Delane. Alex, where are you at on him?
I have to agree. So, he posted a 90.5 overall PFF grade last year and a 90.7 coverage grade. He also did pretty well in run defense and tackling, even though, he only had, in 34 he had 34 total tackles in 260 run defense snaps, and he had 8 assists. He had 5 missed tackles. So I think that might be another problem that comes from his short arms, because he doesn't have like the length to get the wrap around. So, but I mean, as you said, You know, he was only targeted 35 times, and he only gave up 14 passes for 165 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. You know, so yeah, the kid's a stud, an absolute stud.
He's the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that you take out on the field and you say, you see that wide receiver one over there? That's your assignment. Take care of it. Mm-hmm. And you let him do his thing, and he takes care of it. You know, he's the kind of guy that you walk out on the field with and you say, you see Jackson Smith and Jigba over there? That's your guy. Mm-hmm. You know, hey, Justin Jefferson over there? That's your guy. Hey, you see Jamar Chase? That's your guy. And you just say, take that man out of the game. Take him out. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear from him. I don't want to see him. You just eliminate him. And that's what he does. He goes out and he covers that guy and just shuts down that side of the field. He's a true coverage corner. And I love that. That's what you need. You need a guy that's going to shut down an entire side of the field. He almost gives off a little bit of Devin Witherspoon vibes. Mm-hmm. I'm 1000% with it. I think he's going to be the best corner out of this draft, in my opinion.
Yep. And if we're looking at trends, obviously he's top of the line, 9, 10, or 12. So again, right about Kansas City, Dallas, Miami territory. Cincinnati would probably be a great fit for him. I'm assuming their defensive coordinator will pull his head out of his ass, but who knows? But trends say that he's going to be mostly drafted by the Dallas Cowboys at 22%, Los Angeles Rams at 22%, or the Miami Dolphins at 15%.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if he actually wound up with the Dolphins. The Dolphins they desperately need corners, but they need like everything now. Yep. So that'll be fun to see what they do. But at the end of the day, Mansour Delane is my number one. Alex, you got some sleepers for me?
Yep. So you mentioned that there were some problems with reading the quarterback's eyes. There's one detriment there, and another part is and then one of my guys also is also pro on him, is competitive and physical from press coverage. So just keep your eyes open for that. But my guys, we're going to start. Okay, I texted you guys when I was going through my list. I'm going to go all FCS. And I couldn't do it but the one guy I could pick up from the FCS, Chuck Demings, out of Stephen F. Austin University. So you want to talk about diamond in the rough. He posted a 79.6 overall PFF grade, a 60 pass rush grade, an 80.4 coverage grade, and a 66.2 run defense grade. Talking about his stats mostly from the coverage snaps, 338 coverage snaps. He only gave up 18 passes out of 37 targets for 246 yards, including 83 yards after the catch. He did give up a touchdown, but he did pick up 4 interceptions and 6 pass breakups. So the guy was a turnover machine and a defensive stopper. Combine wise, he ran a 4.41 40-yard dash. He had a 1.55 10-yard split, a 42-inch vertical, and an 11-foot broad jump. Athletic freak. Pros on this guy: has solid ball production, as I mentioned before. He finds the ball consistently, and he accrued a total of 9 interceptions in college, and again, 4 in 25. He has the speed to carry vertical routes and the length to squeeze receivers towards the sidelines. And his smooth hips allow seamless transition out of his back pedal, and he stays square through the route break. We saw that during his drills at the combine. Had a lot of control. Now, the cons on him, and one of the big cons anytime I talk about anybody from the FCS, lack of competition. But
that was exactly where I was going to go. The lack of competition, because, obviously we're talking about SFA. We talk about it all the time. And, we talk about guys from the FCS and things like that. And every now and then, you'll still get a guy that pops. Obviously, Khalil Mack, he played for Buffalo. It's like, well, where did Khalil Mack come from? That's one of my biggest examples. Like anytime I talk about a guy coming from a smaller school, Oh yeah, well, Khalil Mack came from Buffalo, and look what he did. You know, he came from the University of Buffalo. Nobody expected that, but this could be one of those guys. Demings was one of those guys that kind of jumped off the paper to us when it came to his NFL combine. Mm-hmm. He was a guy that really jumped off. I mean, the speed was there. I mean, he handled everything. Good footwork, good hands. All the drills, like you said, were phenomenal.
Yep.
He was a guy that we went, who the hell is Demings? And then we're looking, we're like, Jesus Christ, look at this guy. Like, he had himself a really, really, really good combine. Guy, we put a circle next to his name for a guy that, hey, we're watching this dude. I could see this guy for a guy that's going for an FCS guy, dude. I could see him going like day 2, which is crazy to me. You know, it's crazy that a guy from SFA could go second round.
Yeah, and when you talked about lack of competition isn't the only thing that's working against him. The other, if we're getting more specific, he is kind of slow to trigger downhill from off coverage, and he needs to play with better eye balance. And you mentioned flat-footedness, reading the quarterback's eyes. That's another one of his. That's one of his cons. He kind of sits flat-footed, and average instincts limit early jumps from zone coverage. And again, he's light for his position. A lot of these guys are. Big-bodied receivers can push him around, and quick receivers, super fast receivers like a Jackson Smith and Jigba, or Jamison Williams. They could just change directions on him in a hiccup. So
it's a little bit of an undersized corner class, is it not?
I think so. That we've noticed this. When we take a look at the stats on these guys, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Like the ideal corner might be 6'4" and like 220 pounds, but I'm like, oh, these guys are like below 200. But then again,
they're not as long. They're not as long as you'd like either. It's kind of interesting that we have this corner class, and I hate to put it this term because I don't think it's not a very flattering term, but almost a little diminutive compared to previous classes where it's like, hey, this guy's 201 pounds. This is a 200-pound corner. We're talking about 180-pound guys. Like, I'm bigger than some of these guys from a weight perspective. So it's like, and they're probably in far better shape than I am, for the record. Right. But obviously, but at the same time, they aren't as big or long as you'd prefer in these situations. Not to interrupt, but this is one of those things that we're noticing is something of a trend in this class.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'll quickly wrap up with the likely landing spots for Chuck Demings. Detroit at 22%, Green Bay at 16%, and Dallas at 8%. But good news here, not everybody's undersized, because we do have Ephesians Prysock out of the University of Washington. Now, this guy has a 6'4" frame with proportional length, and it gives him a monster edge in closing throwing windows. So, not all of these cornerbacks are undersized. This guy, Ephesians Prysock, posted a 77.9 overall PFF grade, 58.8 pass rush grade, a 76.5 coverage grade, and an 82.9 run defense grade. In 2025, and he had 326 run defense snaps, 44 tackles, 10 assists, missed 6 times, but he had 14 defensive stops overall. And from a coverage perspective, 478 coverage snaps. He gave up 42 catches out of 73 targets for 352 yards. A high yak rate, though, 122 yards after catch. And he did give up 5 touchdowns. That's quite a lot. He did get an interception and 5 pass breakups.
Prysock's interesting. We saw him at the combine. He's another one that jumped off the page, to us when we were watching. He's sort of interesting. Long corner. This is what we're, it's a departure from what we've been talking about, today. 6'4". I mean, so he's long. He's got that reach. He's got, that capability is there. Good press man corner. He plays well in zone. I like that a lot. He does a really good job with that. But he's There are some things that I have questions about when it comes to Prysock. You know, just 2 picks, for example, in his entire career, which is kind of interesting. Does get, because of the height, you know, he does carry, and this was something that was pointed out on NFL Draft Buzz, one of this, and it's in several other scouting reports as well. High center of gravity, and it works against him at the break points, which is something that I could see being a thing, and that he does get a little grabby when he's out there. But that seems to be, you know, I think that's just a young man's thing when it comes to corners, you know, at this point, because you can tell the ones that get it coached out of him and the ones that don't. I think Prysock could be one of those guys that gets it coached out of him, because I really do like this kid. I thought he, you know, at the combine, he put on a show, and everybody out there in the crowd was going, wow, this Prysock kid's pretty damn good. And I had never heard of him before the combine. So to see what he was able to do at the combine is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and he did show some growth as a run defender. You know, he does maintain his outside leverage and contain positioning. You know, and he tracks down his vertical routes, and he has the speed to recover from a misstep. So he can catch up to the guy, you know, if he happens to misstep, and still get his long arms in there to bat those balls down. Something else he has to work on, though. I mean, you did mention, you know, his disappointing ball production. You know, I agree. You know, 2 interceptions and 204 career targets. I mean, come on. I would probably expect at least double-digit interceptions with that kind of a workload. He has subpar tackling technique. He prefers finesse over wrap and finish. And really, if you're going to tackle somebody, wrap them up, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Get them down to the ground. And again, he has average long speed. You know, faster receivers can take the top off, and his feet kind of linger when he's getting out of the top of his drop. So the likely draft position for him, you know, it's anywhere from pick 154 to 162 to 169. I couldn't see anything as far as you know, which teams he might be picked up by, but you know, there's a lot of different places, you know, he could go. You know, I mean, any team would benefit from drafting him.
Yeah, he's going to be a day 3 guy, and he's going to wind up being, you know, I think you're probably talking 5th or 6th round. He's one of those guys right now where he reminds me, and this is not a what his draft profile is, I would say, but you know, he reminds me a lot of Rock Ya-Sin in the way that when Rock Ya-Sin got drafted, everybody kept talking about, well, he could be great. Right, he could be really awesome. You know, we don't know. We might be able to develop him. There's a lot of upside with him. You know, there was a lot of talk about that, and now we're sitting here like, all right, this is kind of where we're at with Prysock here, right? Where we don't know what he's going to be. We don't know if he's going to develop. There could be a lot of upside here, but then there's also, you know, I don't know. I got questions. So I mean, it's all really going to depend on him, and I think team and scheme will matter. And I do think that if he gets with the right coach that can develop him, he could turn into a really solid corner. Do I think he's going to be a corner number 1? Do I think he's going to be a shutdown guy? Probably not. But is he the kind of guy where, you know, he could develop probably into a really strong corner number 2? Sure, I could see it. I could definitely see it. Sock's going to be an interesting one. He's going to be a guy that's going to that might turn some heads. You know, like he did at the combine, he might turn some heads after he gets drafted in the NFL draft. Alex, you got any more for us?
We got one more on the docket, and we really, really liked this guy, Toriano Pride Jr. out of Missouri. He posted a 74.4 overall PFF grade, 73.8 coverage grade, and a 72.7 run defense grade. His stats were pretty decent. 220 run defense snaps. He had 1 quarterback hit from pressure, 23 tackles, 6 assists, 2 misses, and 9 defensive stops. And with 353 coverage snaps, he only gave up 20 catches out of 45 attempts for only 194 yards. But he did get burned for 2 touchdowns. but he got 2 interceptions and a pass breakup. Here's the kicker. He was the fastest, if unless I miss my guess, he was the fastest corner in this class with a 4.32 40-yard dash. I mean, the blazing speed. And a 1.51 10-yard split, vertical, 10-foot 8-inch broad jump, and he performed a 3-cone drill in 7.2 seconds.
Yeah. If I'm looking at Toriano Pride, one of the guys that stood out at the combine, he was one dude that it was like, whoa, who is this kid and where did he come from? Because we were blown away. Like you said, 4.32 40 time was crazy. He's really fast. I got some questions about the agility more than anything. I mean, straight line speed is phenomenal with him. I do have some questions about the agility, and the footwork, but I mean, ultimately, I think he's legit as far as being one of the faster corners in this draft. There are some things, most of the stuff that, again, the downsides with him, it's coachable stuff.
Yep.
This is footwork stuff. This is, and some of it is just stuff you can't teach, like size. It's like you can't teach that, right? But at the end of the day, the speed matters, and in his case, it's going to be his biggest weapon because they're going to line him up against those big, fast receivers, those Tyreek Hills of the world. They're going to line him up with those kind of guys, and they're going to say, "Go ahead and chase him down." And that's what his game is going to be. He's going to wind up being that guy that handles the 9 route, and he's going to be able to handle it effectively. I think if it was me, I would back him up into a zone scheme. I would say have him as playing back a little bit, maybe cover 4, cover 3, somewhere like that. I'd have him backed off of the line a little bit, playing some nice zone coverage. I think that's where he needs to be.
Yep.
Quarters. Quarters would be good for him. Something along those lines.
Yeah, and he's also very competitive and physical and aggressive from press coverage, despite his size. And we saw it. We saw at the combine. He had really fluid hips, really keeping in line and control during those drills, and he consistently gets his head around in time to locate the ball. Also really good in run support. Triggers downhills, pursuit, and run support, and he fills the alley against runs on the perimeter. However, his aggressiveness can be a bit of a detriment because, again, change of direction is a concern. Kind of goes back to your comment about what?
Oh, you froze there for a minute there, but you froze for a second there.
That's okay.
One thing that we mentioned, as far as the straight line speed, and you were talking about like different things that he could be used for. I think there's a special teams value there as far as it goes to him with that straight line speed. Just screams gunner. You get him on a punt and you say, hey, go be a gunner, or hey, you get him on a field goal and say, hey, go block the kick. That he could be that guy coming off the edge, and he's got that speed, and I think that capability matters. And that's going to definitely make a lot of teams take a longer look at Toriano Pride and say, hey, this could be a guy we should draft, even if it's just to be a rotational guy and then have him on special teams. He could wind up, and there's a lot of guys that have made careers in the NFL off of just being special teams monsters. He could be one of those guys.
Yeah, and speaking of where he might end up, we talked about how Charles Woodson, former University of Michigan legend, he was with the Green Bay Packers, and with Toriano Pride, 27% says he's going to be he'll go to Green Bay. They've always had, special teams people, maybe the Bears, don't kick it to Hester. Although, it's probably the other way around. Like you mentioned, the gunner that comes down the other side to tackle the kick returner. Also, Kansas City Chiefs at 9% and the New York Jets at 9%. So those are some likely landing spots for Toriano Pride.
Yeah, I like Toriano Pride a lot. I think that he could wind up being a definite steal in this draft. We're talking probably 5th round. I think he's going to be a day 3 guy. I think he's going to go a little earlier than a lot of people realize. Day 3, but I think we're going to be talking, 4th, 5th round. It's going to surprise some folks when he goes higher than a lot of the projections, and he goes higher than a lot of people expect. Alex, we got our corners. Boots will be bringing his in next show, but Alex, that's our show, my friend.
Yeah. So again, 13 days, probably 12 days and 22 hours from now. We will, everybody will be up north. We'll have the food, we'll have the gang, we'll have the live show. We're so excited to bring that to you guys. You don't even know.
Yeah, we're gonna be chowing down on some pizza while we're on the live stream. We're going to be chowing down on pizza. We're going to be drinking some beer with you guys. We're going to be having a good time. We're going to be watching the draft, have live reactions of everything. Very excited about that show. It's going to be a long one, but that's okay. We're going to be jumping in. We'll probably have little intermissions and whatnot during the whole thing, but there will be a live stream that goes on during the NFL draft, during day 1, maybe even day 2. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how we're feeling, but day 1 is a for sure. So we'll definitely be here on day 1. We'll be going live. We'll be on X. We'll be on Facebook. We'll be on Twitch. We'll be on Kick. And then all those episodes, we're also going to post them, on all of our recordings too, for SoundCloud and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that stuff. So all this stuff's going to be available to everybody. People can tune in, people can join in, people can feel free to talk to us. We're going to have a lot of live streams going on during the draft, and we're going to be just chowing down and drinking beer and hanging out and having a good time. So I just want to, before we get out of here, want to just give a shout out to It's Your Time Massage. Amanda's a wonderful massage therapist. She does amazing work. She's the best massage therapist in the Metro Detroit area. If you're looking to get a massage, you got to check out iytmassage.com, or you can find her at It's Your Time Massage LLC on Facebook. She does Swedish and deep tissue massages. She also, for a little bit extra, you can get yourself some CBD oil. You can get yourself a foot sugar scrub. You can get yourself hot stones. You can get yourself muscle scraping. You can get yourself red light therapy. You can get all that good stuff. You just got to check it out, iytmassage.com, or you can find her at It's Your Time LLC on Facebook. And you can remember, folks, it's your time. Also, let's go ahead and talk about the artist formerly known as Big Willie Dubs Gaming. Now we'll talk about him as No Shot Bot TTV. Yeah, he's over there on the TikTok.
The TikTok.
There's my old man moment for the day. You can check him out on the TikTok, or you can find him on Facebook. You can find him on Twitch. You can find him on Kick. You can find him anywhere. You just got to check him out. No Shot Bot TTV. Will's putting on some awesome streams over there. A lot of first-person shooter stuff going on over there. Every now and then, however, he does some other stuff, like threatening to shave off his beard in front of his wife and watching her panic. Or every now and then he does the Hot Ones Challenge. Every now and then he'll eat nasty jelly beans. I got to join him for the nasty jelly bean episode. It was an experience. But I highly recommend you check him out. No Shot Bot TTV. I'll actually be seeing Will tomorrow. It's his wonderful daughter's birthday. So we're going to be, I'm going to be hanging out with Will tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. But Alex, what do you got going on in Steel Twin Gaming?
Well, do you like video games? Do you like theater? The Steel Twins Gaming may just be what you're looking for. Whether it's the good old first-person shooter, RPG, or your favorite story-based adventures, we think we have something for just about everyone. We've got everything you need to satisfy your digital cravings, whatever they may be. And best of all, our channel has something nobody else has: voice acting. Every week, my brother and I will play a game that has a lot of text-based dialogue, and we will act it out with the voices that come up in our heads for the characters you see on screen. Sometimes we do our best to highlight the drama of the situation. Most of the time, we just goof off to have a good time. Either way, we're sure you'll be entertained. We are on every Saturday afternoon on or about 2:30 p.m. Follow us on Twitter at SteelTwinsAlex to keep up to date on our shenanigans. We are also on Facebook, Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, don't forget about the brother channel, Steele Twins Andy. It is there that you will get your full fix of Nostalgic Mondays, Nintendo Tuesdays, FPS Wednesdays, Indie Thursdays, Open World Fridays, Random Saturdays, and the return of Legend of Zelda Sundays. I believe it was Legend of Zelda Saturdays, and I'm going to have to ask him about that. But speaking of FPS Wednesdays, my brother, the Package Angel Steele, is now on Borderlands 2. And the fun thing about that is, in his debut episode for that game, I joined him. And you're going to see the Steele Twins just loot, shoot, and loot some more, in Borderlands 2. It's probably supposed to be the best in the series, as far as I've heard. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to learn it. But yeah, if you like the nostalgic stuff, I mean, Steele Twins Andy's for you. Am I right?
Absolutely. Rootin', tootin', shootin' over there with the Steele Twins. I'm super excited about a lot of the stuff you guys do. I'm a big fan. I keep telling you, Nostalgic Mondays is my jam. We still got to get Bad Dudes on there for Boots.
100%.
Got to get, Bad Dudes. That's what he needs. But we're going to be getting that stuff going. And, you guys, maybe I'll wind up joining you guys up there for some stream action while I'm up. But it's going to be a wonderful weekend for the NFL draft in a couple of weeks. And before we get out of here, let's talk about I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash. It's by a wonderful author named Tammy Pruitt. Listen, this is a great book. It's an inspirational guide based on her real life experiences dealing with body image and eating issues. She shapes her book with her struggles and how to overcome them. And look, it's supported with research-based facts, and it's accompanied by her professional advice as a registered dietitian. She lets others know that they're not alone in struggling with self-love, body image, and disordered eating. And look, she's not your stereotypical health guru, all right? She doesn't run 7 miles a day and judge people for the kind of unhealthy food that they eat, although she did just compete in marathons, which is pretty damn impressive. Instead, look, she's the friend that you never had. She's the kind that encourages you and motivates you to rise above your dilemmas, and she takes you on a walk down memory lane here, where life pitted challenges against her and what she did to get through them. It's a great book. It's fantastic. It's very inspirational. It reads like a conversation, but not a boring one. It is one of the absolute best reads. You should check it out. You can find it on the .coms. You can find it on barnesandnoble.com. You can find it on amazon.com. You can go on any of the .coms. You can get it digitally. You can get it paperback. You can get it hardcover. Any of those places. Check it out. I ate cookies out of the trash, and also she will tell you the story of why she ate cookies out of the trash. So, folks, check it out. I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash by Tammy Pruitt. I highly recommend this book. It's a fantastic read. And Alex, man, we got 2 weeks to the draft, bro. I'm fired up. We are just under 2 weeks away. Lots of beer, lots of pizza, lots of barbecue, lots of just being fat during the draft.
Fat, unhealthy, but happy.
Exactly. That's where we're headed. So there's going to be a lot of that. But folks, be sure to stay tuned and jump in with us for our live stream when we're going live for the NFL draft in round 1, possibly even on day 2 as well. We'll see where it goes. Day 3, I think we're just going to hang out and barbecue. But day 1 and 2, 2 is a possibility. 1 is for sure. So we're going to be on here. So be sure to tune in with us and check it out. And then also tune into our other episodes. You can find us, like I said, you can find us every week here on Twitch. You can find us on Kick. You can find us on X. You can find us on Facebook. If you want to listen to the recorded versions of these episodes, you can find it on Spotify. You can find it on SoundCloud. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Odyssey. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Check us out and give us a rate, give us a follow. And we hope you guys have enjoyed watching, listening, all that good stuff. We appreciate all the listenership that we've been getting recently. It's a great time. You can find us on our Facebook. You can follow us there. You can find us on our X page. You can follow us there at the Outside Blitz. We love it, man. We love the fact that you guys are joining us. So with that, thank you so much. We will see you next week right here on the Outside Blitz.
I bet you listen again. And with that, pow, we're gone.